here's the thing. For everybody listening, don't make the same mistake the Bengals just did in any facet of your life.
People are going to get hurt. It's the hockey season.
What about the Jared Cook play on the sideline?
I was very tempted to just put defense.
I'm saying it right now. If Anthony Davis is out for the playoffs, they don't make it out of the first round.
Come on, Austin and I've been saying this ever since Joe Burrow got injured.
I don't really think the Dodgers are going to make the World Series this year. I feel like they'll make it to the NLCS.
The Fernando Tatis extension, because that really surprised me.
Like you said, Ovechkin, he's getting older. He hasn't been playing as well as I imagined. He's one of the greatest goal scorers of all time, but he hasn't started off this season as hot as I would hope.
Hi, I'm Jeff Allen, and you're listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NFL Opinions of the Week. I'm Kevin, and I'm joined by the man that we will both be having our tears ricocheted in this one as we talk about the 5 biggest disappointments in the NFL so far. Austin.
Yeah, and just to clarify a little bit, this is not very structured. Like, it doesn't have to be a player or even a team. It could be anything that we think has been really disappointing versus coming into the year. I can start out with number 5 if you want, Kevin. I'll just say the LA Chargers. The LA Chargers last year were up 27-0 in a playoff game, looking poised to advance to the next round, and now they don't even look like they're going to make the playoffs this year.
Yeah, I did just make a quick change. I did have Brandon Staley earlier. He was in one of my earlier lists just for the same reasons. We were both high on Justin Herbert. I loved Kellen Moore joining them, and I can't really explain what's going on with the Chargers.
Yeah, that's fair.
So that's pretty disappointing, but mine is the Panthers / Bryce Young. You and I both had liked Stroud better than Young, but and for me the Bryce Young to me seemed like the most ready. There's going to be a lot of trouble with Stroud. That has not happened. There seems to be a lot of struggles with Bryce Young. I was very high on the Panthers because I felt they just needed a quarterback that Bryce Young would solve, because Bryce Young was amazing in college. So was Stroud, but Bryce Young was just insane. So to see how the Panthers are going to get the number 1 overall pick, but they're going to have to trade that away since they traded to get Bryce Young, that's pretty disappointing.
Yeah, and it's a great one to have. What's your number 4?
My number 4 is everything seems lopsided. It almost seems a little predictable this season. There have been unpredictable ways, but I think every unpredictable wins, like the way the Broncos beat the Bills, but there's not been a huge change in the hierarchy of the NFL tiers list, in my opinion. Like, I still feel you can see a game and be like, okay, this should be close. Like, I was excited for the Jaguars-Niners game. The Niners just blew them out. To me, there aren't a lot of close game finishes or 1-2 punches. I'm like, oh, they just scored a touchdown. They respond. So there have just been some windows where it doesn't really look good, and I can kind of just skip this hour, like 3:25 window.
Okay. Mine is NFL scoring. I saw a report. So Brady was talking obviously about how there's a lot of mediocrity in the league right now, and a part of that article that ESPN put out, the NFL scoring, which is my number 4, has decreased on average the last 4 years in a row, and this is the fewest. It's gone down every year in the last 4 years, and now it's even lower from last year. It just seems like offenses aren't as good, and I don't know if that's necessarily because defenses are better or offenses have lost a lot of talent or what it really is, but you can kind of tell, like, there's been a lot of low scoring games, especially between, good teams. And I think that lack of offensive firepower is kind of maybe part of the reason why you're not seeing those back and forth type of games, is because if one team's hot, that doesn't mean the other team is.
Yeah. So we kind of hint at the same thing. It's been a very weird year to me for the NFL. Just in terms of a lot of things. We're in a weird quarterback stage. I do think defenses have gotten better, which has been good. but they're just some of the offenses just
Yeah, it's just been
do not work.
there's been sloppy mistakes made by offenses that should not result in turnovers or bad plays, and they just for some reason do.
Yeah. Like I think
Um,
these defensive players can make great plays, but it's also like some are layup plays, and I'm like, what are you doing there?
yeah, it's there's got to be back and forth.
Mhm.
But my number 3 is I was thinking, do I put one person? And this is my only one person, Ron Rivera. Something's gone wrong in Washington. From his time in Carolina, where I thought that he was easily a top 5, at least top 10 coach in the NFL, to now where it's just crumbling and players don't want to be there. And even though they stay in a lot of close games, they're not winning as many as they should. They just lost to the Giants for the second time this year. The Giants have 3 wins, and 2 of them are against Washington. I don't understand how Ron Rivera is not fired after just hearing that stat. They lost to Tommy DeVito. Like,
Yeah.
that's not even the backup. That is the backup to the backup.
The guy that
And
still lives in his parents' house.
that's true, and it's obviously working out. He played amazing on Sunday, and I don't know if that's good for Tommy DeVito or bad for Washington or probably some sort of both, but something has to change. And Ron Rivera, I thought Washington was going to be so much better after making the playoffs in 2020, and they've really been disappointing. And this year, even more.
Yeah, that's a good one. I do have a one person on here, but it's not just yet. Um, my 3 is the Bills. We've talked about them. We made so many videos. Like, okay, Josh Allen has struggled, but just in general, this team has struggled, and it's so disappointing the fall off from this team because they seem to be like, okay, it's going to be between the Chiefs and the Bills for the next few years after that AFC divisional game, the championship game where they got destroyed, then the divisional game. Oh, this is going to be some greatness. Has not worked out, which is just awful. And it's pretty disappointing for Buffalo. You got to feel for them. And just for, man, like, where did we go wrong with our predictions and what we saw in this team? Because nothing has really drastically changed outside of Brian DeBall leaving. But is that really all of it? I don't. Nothing's really changed, and it's just sad to see their window close.
Yeah, we talked about that a lot, so I'm not going to add too much, but it's definitely been very disappointing. I don't have the Bills on my list, but I understand the sentiment. Who's your 2?
My 2 is Joe Burrow. Just how disappointing for me. He is on my fantasy team, but you text me. He's like, he's out for the year, and I'm like, dang, that's just sad. Like, he struggled earlier on in the beginning, but it looked like the Bengals were getting hot, and I don't know if it's really set in. Joe Burrow's out for the season, and that's really sad because now, who's the second best quarterback in the NFL?
That's a good question to ask, and I really have to think about it because there's been a lot of QB issues, and Kevin, that goes perfectly into mine. That was a perfect segue. My number 2, QB injuries. Just in general, QB injuries. Whether it's Kirk Cousins, Aaron Rodgers, Joe Burrow, there's been a lot of guys who've been out for at least one game. Stafford missed a game, and obviously the other guys that are out for the year, like Daniel Jones. There's been so many injuries, and it makes it very hard to watch. I hate seeing players get hurt, and especially at a premier position like the quarterback. It can really derail a season. And there's been so many injuries. So many teams have lost their number one guy for the entire year, or maybe a little bit less. But it's just disappointing. You want to see elite quarterback play, and you can tell when it's not.
Yeah, it's so difficult, and that could go into another reason with the scoring is there are just so many injured quarterbacks, and there's really like teams struggle even without health, without a majority of the starters being out. So that's a really good one. My number 1, I'm pretty sure it's your number 1 too, is the Jets.
Mine's not the Jets,
Oh, okay.
but mine is very similar. It's the AFC East. So I didn't have the Bills. I didn't have the Jets. I didn't have the Patriots. I thought the AFC East was going to be the best division in football. And it's average at best, probably less than average. And I expected there to be 3 10-win teams. We may get one with the Dolphins. And
Yeah.
I don't know if the Bills are going to reach that. They may go 9-8. It's just the lack of discipline, the lack of talent. I don't really know what to say, but it's just the AFC East I thought was going to be one of the best divisions we've seen in football history. And it's not even close to that mark.
Yeah, and to the Jets, Aaron Rodgers and just that injury, like you had like what was going to happen? He still might come back, which is insane, but they may not be able to make it back. So just the way he only got like 2 plays in before he suffered that injury, and we'll just have to see how he rebounds. But there was so much hype around the Jets, and it was legitimate too. But it fell flat on their face. They're back to Zach Wilson. They're benching him again. Yeah, it's pretty disappointing. So I'll let you take this one and close out this sad episode.
Yeah, this is not a video that necessarily we love talking about, but what are your guys some disappointing things that have happened this season, either on your favorite team or in general? And please catch us in the next video.